My name is John Sarandria, and I live in Hermitage, Pennsylvania. My wife is a teacher at Newcastle High School. She teaches French. I have 4 children, 23, 22, 22, and 20. You know, when I was 21 years old, I became a New York City firefighter and really trained hard to get that job. So from the time I was in high school, where I was a 3-sport athlete, to the time I went to college on a baseball and basketball scholarship, I have always been physically fit, and I believe there were 3 reasons why I had a heart issue. Number 1, I don't have genetics on my side. I haven't always been the greatest of eaters, and that's because the jobs that I've had have always been extremely stressful. So when you have the genetics and you throw in a couple of other variables that you do have control over, stress and eating right, it could lead to a recipe for disaster, and eventually that's exactly what caught up with me. On March 26th, I had just had a, not to give too much information, I had just had a difficult bowel movement. When I came out, I went into my son's bedroom and I sat down, and when I sat, I started to become really clammy and sweaty. The seconds turned into minutes, started to feel worse, and I said to my son, "Go get your mother." He came down with his sister, and when she saw me, she dialed 911 immediately. One of the first responders said to me, "Mr. Sarandria, we're gonna treat you as if you're having a heart attack." So I said to her, "Am I having a heart attack?" And she said, "Well, we're gonna treat you like you're having one." To me, it was as close as a yes as I was gonna get. After they did the catheterization on me, I never came to. I'm told I had to be paddled. And they did about a 10-hour emergency surgery on me through the night and into the next day. You know, thankfully, after a long period of rehabilitation, came out on the other side, even more thankful. I think it's so important to take care of your heart. I think the big key about the American Heart Association, all they do for fundraising and awareness and advocacy is exactly that. The sooner you get on the path to healthy living, the better your life is going to be, and most likely the longer it's going to be as well.
My name is Kendall Kristoff, and I am 39 years old. I am the 4th generation of women in my family to have a heart event before 50 years old. My great-grandmother had a stroke in her 50s. My grandmother passed away in 1996 of a heart attack. My mother had a heart attack and a stroke in her early 40s, and then I'm a heart attack survivor as of 32 years old. I woke up in the middle of the night and, I wasn't feeling so good. And everything that I was feeling looked like the stomach flu. It didn't look like a heart event. I was very nauseous and I was sweating through my clothes, and I'm laying on the floor of my bathroom and I'm like, oh, this flu is terrible. I went into bed and I started noticing things that were not flu-like. I started noticing jaw pain, my teeth were actually hurting, shoulder tension. I was rolling shoulders, and the final sign was something I remember my mother saying, and she said, "Feel my fingertips, they're numb." And when I felt that, I knew. I nudged my husband and I said, "I think I'm having a heart attack." And my husband said, "I think you're having anxiety." And I was like, "No, really, one of us has to get me to the hospital." So I was being told from different directions what we were going to do, and they were gowning me up and getting ready. And the one nurse was like, "Honey, just watch the screen, you're gonna see something amazing." I remember hearing ballooning the stent, and the screen I had been watching was black up until that moment, and all of a sudden there was activity, and it was my heart coming back to life. I had 100% blockage in my right coronary artery. American Heart Association is one of the first phone calls I made after I got out of the hospital. So I read the literature and I followed along with the programs that you guys had. I went to the luncheons and whatever I could, did the heart walk. In December of 2019, it has been 7 years So I have been surviving for 7 years, and I would love to say that it's been easy. Some days you feel great and you're like, yay, I can climb mountains, and I've, done mud runs and things like that. But then there's days where I have to wear a holster monitor because my heart is like, let's run while you're sitting. So it is literally day by day. And I can tell anybody, it is so much easier to prevent a heart attack than it is to survive one.